I have not had the opportunity to preach an extended expositional series, I realized as I was thinking about this week, for a very long time, even though it is what I did most of my life. The nature of military ministry and all of the comings and goings of people and the particular assignments that I had were simply not conducive to that. And so my last opportunity to preach an expositional series on a book of the Bible was when I was in Baghdad in 2009, right in the center of that place. I was able to preach a series on the book of Philippians, on Paul's letter to the Philippians. That was the first series I preached when we had all arrived there. I preached an Advent series, and then I preached a series on the life of David. And one of the things that I love and will always miss about the military community is they had a deep appreciation for exposition and content. They demanded it, in fact. And so I'll always remember those week by week gatherings that we had together. But for me, this morning, to be able to begin a series now on a letter is joy and satisfaction like you don't know. 2 Corinthians is a letter that has been the object of my interest and a burden of my heart for a very long time. Tricia will tell you. And when we began to get the sense that God might be leading us to plant a church, I knew what the first extended series would be. I knew that a long time ago. And so I want to begin this morning with an introduction and an overview of the letter, kind of a view from 30,000 feet, before we launch into the letter proper. And in order to do that, I want to this morning read from two different passages that give a window into the occasion and the purpose of the letter. So if you would turn first to 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 3. And then once you get there, you can keep your finger there and turn to chapter 11, verses 1 through 15. So we'll begin at chapter 6, verse 3, and then we'll read chapter 11, verses 1 through 15. And once you have that, if you would stand as we read together the Word of God. We put no stumbling block in anyone's path, so that our ministry will not be discredited. Rather, as servants of God, we commend ourselves in every way, in great endurance, in troubles, hardships, and distresses, in beatings, imprisonments, and riots, in hard work, sleepless nights, and hunger, in purity, understanding, patience, and kindness, in the Holy Spirit, and in sincere love, in truthful speech, and in the power of God, with weapons of righteousness in the right hand and in the left, through glory and dishonor, bad report and good report, genuine, yet regarded as impostors, known, yet regarded as unknown, dying, and yet we live on, beaten, and yet not killed, sorrowful, and yet always rejoicing, poor, yet making many rich, having nothing, and yet possessing everything. We have spoken freely to you, Corinthians, and we have opened wide our hearts to you. We are not withholding our affection from you, but you are withholding yours from us. As a fair exchange, I speak as to my children. Open wide your hearts also. And then chapter 11. I hope you'll put up with me in a little foolishness. Yes, please put up with me. I'm jealous for you with a godly jealousy. I promised you to one husband, to Christ, so that I might present you as a pure virgin to him. But I'm afraid that just as Eve was deceived by the snake's cunning, your minds may somehow be led astray from your sincere and pure devotion to Christ. For if someone comes to you and preaches a Jesus other than the Jesus that we preached, or if you receive a different spirit from the spirit you received, or a different gospel from the one that you accepted, you put up with it easily enough. I do not think that I am in the least inferior to these, quote, super apostles. I may indeed be an untrained speaker, but I do have knowledge. We've made this perfectly clear to you in every way. Was it a sin for me to lower myself in order to elevate you by preaching the gospel of God to you free of charge? I robbed other churches by receiving support from them so as to serve you. And when I was with you and needed something, I was not a burden to anyone, for the brothers who came from Macedonia supplied what I needed. I've kept myself from being a burden to you in any way, and I'll continue to do so, as surely as the truth of Christ is in me. Nobody in the regions of Achaia will stop this boasting of mine. Why? Because I do not love you? God knows I do. And I will keep on doing what I'm doing in order to cut the ground out from underneath those who want an opportunity to be considered equal with us in the things that they boast about. For such people are false apostles, deceitful workers, masquerading as apostles of Christ. And no wonder, for Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. It is not surprising then if his servants also masquerade as servants of righteousness. Their end will be what their actions deserve. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. You may be seated.